Have you ever thought you might live in a nursing home one day? If your answer is never thought about it, then I understand. A few years ago, I used to think the same way. But the truth is that moving into a nursing home is gradually becoming an inevitable trend in modern society. In the United States, according to statistics from the National Center for Health Statistics, there are currently more than 1.3 million older adults living in long-term care facilities, and this number is expected to double by 2030 as the baby boomer generation enters old age. Growing old is no longer as simple as living with your children. Many people have chosen the nursing home as their final stop in life due to circumstances, health, or the desire to receive better care. And now, at 80, I also stand at that threshold. I began seriously considering moving into a nursing home near the area where I used to live. But before making a decision, I spent a week visiting the place, eating with them, talking with them, and listening to the stories of 10 older adults I met there. And you know what? What I heard truly surprised me. Not the stories you see in advertisements or newspapers, but real, everyday experiences from those on the inside. People who once had families, once lived independently, believed they would never need a nursing home. I wrote down what they shared, and I want to share it with you so that if you or your loved ones face this decision one day, you won't have to feel regret. This video is not only for older people, it's also for the young, those wondering about their parents' future. Because when the time comes to decide, the right choice isn't always the best place, but understanding clearly what you're choosing. So please watch this video until the end. You won't just be surprised. You may be thankful you learned these things sooner. Story number 1. Losing a life of freedom. I met Mr. Harold one afternoon as I was sitting under the eaves of the nursing home, and he slowly walked over. He's 80 years old. He moved into the nursing home at the suggestion of his son. We got to know each other, and he shared what life in the nursing home has been like for him. He said, "Before I came here, I lived in a small house with a little garden. Every morning, I woke up early, made tea, read a book, and went outside to tend the plants and pull weeds. I had my own routines. I decided when to wake up, when to eat, and what to eat, when to go for a walk, when to visit my kids. Then I came here, and the biggest shock wasn't the small room or the unfamiliar faces. It was that I lost control over my own life. I no longer choose when to wake up. I can't read late into the night because they turn off the lights at 9 p.m. I can't have breakfast at 8 a.m. because meals start at 6:30. Want to step outside for fresh air? You need someone to accompany you. And sometimes you wait, and no one's available. The first week, I woke up and reached for the book I had been reading, and suddenly realized I wasn't in my own home anymore. The old bookshelf, the chair I always sat in, the scent of the garden behind the porch, all gone. Gone completely. You know, the pain isn't about losing a house. It's about losing the little things you once thought were just part of everyday life, but turned out to be pieces of who you are. I asked him, "Do you think you'll ever be able to adapt?" He gave a faint smile and replied, "Everyone eventually has to adapt. But adapting doesn't mean you won't feel regret. And it certainly doesn't mean you should have to trade everything away. So, if you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself this: are you ready to give up the most minor, most familiar things that make up your life because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever imagined. Story number 2, losing the sense of purpose. And this is the story of Mrs. Mary and Mr. George, two people I met on a bench. In a gentle voice, Mrs. Mary told me, "When I moved into the nursing home, I thought it was simply a new place to live. But it turned out I didn't just leave my old house. I left behind the feeling that I was still living with a purpose. At home, I had the habit of making coffee every morning, going to the market, watering the plants, tutoring a few neighborhood children. I knew why I woke up early. I knew what I was going to do the next day. Every day, I had something to look forward to. But here, everything is taken care of. Meals on schedule, rooms cleaned. There's nothing left I have to do. It sounds convenient. At first I thought, oh well, it's nice to rest a little. But then, day after day, I started to feel like time was passing, without leaving any trace. Each morning, I would ask myself, what will I do today? And there was no answer. Mr. George, 84 years old, used to be a firefighter. He lived in the sound of sirens, in the rush of running into fires to save lives. He said, it was dangerous, sure. But I always told myself, at least every day I wake up, I know exactly what I'm living for. And now, I sit all day in a chair by the window. No more sirens. No one needs my help. There's nothing that gives me a reason to stand up. I asked him, do you miss those old days? He looked at me and said something I will never forget. I'm not afraid of growing old. I'm afraid of existing without living. And I understood exactly what he meant. To exist is to breathe, to eat, to sleep on time. But to live is to feel that you still matter, that you have meaning, that there's something to look forward to. Here, many people exist for a very long time, but living, that stopped the moment they came in. They're not sad. They're not happy. They're just waiting for time to pass. People who used to be active and strong now sit in silence, not because they're weak, but because they've lost what once made them feel alive. Mr. George said, you know, wasting away while still alive is no different from dying slowly. And the saddest part is when you're still strong enough to live, but there's nothing left that makes you want to live. If you're thinking about a nursing home, I'm not saying don't go. But before you decide, ask yourself, what makes me wake up each morning and feel like today is worth living? And if you don't bring that with you, you'll be giving up far more than just a roof over your head. If you're still watching this video and find these stories meaningful, please leave a comment with the number 2 below, so I know you're still here. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend clicking the subscribe button and turning on the notification bell, so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Now, let's continue with the story of Mrs. Anna. Story number 3, access to specialized services for the elderly. While many people fear losing their freedom when entering a nursing home, Mrs. Anna discovered something she had never had before: specialized care provided at the right time, in the right way, tailored specifically for older adults. Let me tell you the story of Mrs. Anna, a 77-year-old woman I met during a group conversation in the community room. She told me, at first, I was really hesitant. But after moving into the nursing home, what surprised me the most was that there are so many services here that I had never experienced before. She shared, for the first time in my life, I get a relaxing massage every week. There's a dedicated therapy room with a professional who helps me do gentle exercises to keep my joints from getting stiff. They even have someone come in for regular psychological counseling, specifically for seniors like me. I never thought those things could bring me such peace of mind. She added, "At home, I lived alone. There were days when my shoulder hurt so much I couldn't turn my body, and I didn't know who to call. But here, whenever I feel sore or uncomfortable, all I have to do is let someone know, and they come to help right away." I asked her, "So, do you feel that moving into the nursing home was the right decision?" She replied, "Everyone has a different situation. Some people come here and feel sad because they miss their freedom. But for me, at this age, the most precious thing is having someone who understands me and having services that actually match my stage of life. I no longer have to struggle alone with medications, doctor's appointments, or suffer silently through the pain like I used to when I lived by myself." Mrs. Anna's story made me think, maybe what makes life still worth living isn't where you are, but whether you are truly heard, gently cared for, and supported at the right time, in a way that is kind and human. Story number 4: Creating Peace of Mind for Children and Stronger Family Bonds. I met Mr. Edward in the common area while he was video calling his granddaughter. The conversation was short, but I could clearly see the affection in his eyes as he looked at the screen. Later, as we sat down for tea, he said, "I didn't move in here because I was abandoned. On the contrary, I came so that my children and grandchildren wouldn't have to worry every single day." He told me that he used to live alone. His son worked all day, and his daughter-in-law was busy caring for a young child. They all loved him dearly, but no one had enough time to be by his side whenever he needed help. I started to feel afraid that one day I might fall and no one would know. Afraid I might become forgetful and not be able to tell anyone in time. So, after much consideration, I talked with my children and decided to move into a nursing home. Here, I don't feel lonely. My family visits on the weekends. We have lunch together and take walks in the garden. They even organize monthly family days. It's so lively and fun. And on regular days, we video call. Every morning, my granddaughter says good morning to me on the phone before she heads to school. I asked him if he ever felt like he was missing out, not living with his children and grandchildren. He smiled and said, "Missing out is when you know you need help, and no one can give it to you. Here, I receive proper care, and most importantly, I'm not a burden to anyone. My children can focus on their work and studies with peace of mind. And when we see each other, we have real quality time, not just worry or obligation." I looked at him. At 82 years old, he still carried a calm spirit, a confident posture, and a rare sense of peace. And I understood. Sometimes, true family closeness isn't about being physically near, but about the comfort of knowing that everyone is still living well. Story number 5. My health declined faster than I expected. I met Mr. Charles in the physical therapy area. He was trying to lift himself out of a chair, with an effort that was clearly not easy. After a few minutes, he sat down next to me and said, "When I first got here, I could still cook for myself, take walks, do light cleaning. Now, just standing up takes me several deep breaths." I asked him how long it had been since he moved into the nursing home. He replied, "Not even a year. But I feel like my body has aged 10 years in just a few months." Before this, he lived alone. Every morning, he'd make coffee and stretch a little. He liked going to the market, walking around the neighborhood, and occasionally planting a few more flowers in the yard. Nothing extraordinary, but consistent and enough to keep his body moving. Since moving in, everything became so convenient that it started to scare him. Meals were brought directly to his room. Need anything? Press a button. Even the plants were watered for him. No one wanted him to feel tired. But because of that, he had no reason to get up multiple times a day. The body is a strange thing, he said. When you use it, it listens. But once you start sitting too much, relying on others, it begins to forget how to work. Then he pointed to Mrs. Alice in the distance and said, when she first arrived, she was the most active person in the building. She walked every morning, always smiling, even joking with the caregivers. But months later, she slowed down. Then she used a cane, then a wheelchair. Not because of any major incident, just less and less movement. Mrs. Alice once told Mr. Charles, "I feel like the chair is sucking me in. Each time I try to get up, it feels more complicated than the day before, and I don't even know where to begin anymore." When Mr. Charles finished telling me their story, I just sat in silence. I understood what he was trying to say. A nursing home can provide excellent care, but if you're not careful, it can also quietly make you stop trying. Everything becomes too easy, to the point that your body starts to believe it doesn't need to move anymore. Mr. Charles offered me this advice. If you're thinking about a nursing home, remember this. Your health doesn't disappear all at once. It fades, a little each day, and it won't wait for you to notice. And once you slow down, standing back up again isn't as easy as you think. If you're still watching this far, I'm genuinely grateful. Please leave a comment with the number 5 below to let me know you're still with me. That not only helps me connect with you, but it also tells YouTube that this video has value, so it can be recommended to more older adults who need to be heard and supported, just like you. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button today and turn on the notification bell. Because YouTube's algorithm doesn't run on heart, it runs on interaction. When you comment, subscribe, or share this video, you're not just supporting me. You're helping spread these meaningful stories to thousands of older adults who need information to make the right decisions for themselves. Thank you for being here. And now, let's continue with the story of Mrs. Ruth. Story number 6, Rediscovering Laughter That Was Lost. I met Mrs. Ruth in the community room. That day, there was a sing-along session, and she was the first to raise her hand and request, "What will be, will be." She didn't sing well, but she smiled more brightly than anyone else in the room. After the session ended, she sat down next to me and said, "When I first came here, I didn't think I'd be able to adapt. I had lived alone for over 15 years. No husband, no children. Old friends had all moved away. There were weeks where I spoke to no one but the delivery guy and the doctor." I asked her, "So what made things feel different?" She smiled softly. It was the laughter around the dining table. The afternoons, someone invited me to play chess. The group of ladies sitting down to paint, even though none of us knew how to paint. Turns out, just having people your age to talk to is enough to make the day pass faster. She shared that there are activities here every week: painting, gentle yoga, chess, and joint birthday parties. Not everyone joins from the beginning, but gradually it gets livelier. Maybe because everyone needs someone to grow old with. One time, I got a mild illness, and had to miss activities for a few days, she said. The ladies I usually sit with came all the way to my room to check on me. Just a few casual conversations, but it warmed my heart. It had been a long time since I felt like someone actually remembered me. I asked, "Do you ever think maybe it would have been better if you had come here earlier?" She paused to think, then replied, "Not sure. Maybe you have to live lonely long enough to appreciate the simplest things, like sitting together at dinner and telling each other what you dreamed about last night." Hearing this, I realized something. A nursing home isn't just a place for care. For many people, it's a place to rediscover what they thought was lost. And for Mrs. Ruth, what she found again was laughter. Story number 7. No longer afraid of falling. I met Mrs. Helen in the small garden behind the nursing home. She was slowly walking along the stone path, her hand gently resting on the wooden railing. When I walked over to say hello, she smiled and said, "This is the first place where I can take a walk without worrying about what's beneath my feet." I asked why she had moved into the nursing home. She replied, "Because of a fall in the bathroom. Back then, I was still living alone. One night, I got up to use the restroom. It was cold. The floor was slippery. I fell and lay there for nearly an hour before someone found me. After that, her daughter convinced her to move in here. At first, I didn't want to," she said. "I was afraid of losing my freedom. But once I arrived, I realized things were different than I had imagined." She shared that here, all the hallways have handrails. The bathrooms have seats and anti-slip floors. The beds are low. The lights are motion sensor, and there's an emergency call button right beside the bed. I no longer worry if I need to use the restroom at night. All I have to do is press the button, and someone comes right away. I asked her, "What makes you feel the most at ease?" She looked around the garden, then said, "It's the peace. No noisy traffic, no rushed cooking. Just birds, the wind, and a feeling of being safe. I sleep more deeply now, and when I wake up, I no longer have the headaches I used to get from living next to a busy road." Then she added a sentence I still remember to this day. "Old age doesn't just need medicine. It needs a place where you don't have to live in fear with every step you take." Story number 8. Privacy. I don't even know when I lost it. I met Mr. Bernard while he was watching the morning news. We started talking, and after a few casual questions, once he learned I was here to learn about nursing homes, he looked at me and quietly asked, "Have you ever thought about what it's like to lose your privacy?" I was surprised. He nodded, then continued, "Before I came here, I lived alone. The apartment was small, but it was mine. I had my own bedroom and my own bathroom. If I wanted to sit quietly all day without speaking to anyone, I could. If I wanted to read until late at night, no one bothered me. At home, that space was mine. But here, from the first day I walked in, it felt different. Every few hours, someone comes in to check on me. They knock, but sometimes they don't wait for me to answer. They change the bed sheets, remind me to take my meds, and bring meals right to my room. I know they're just doing their job. But gradually, I stopped feeling like the room belonged to me. I asked, "Do you ever get to be alone?" He shook his head. "Not much. And not truly alone. Even going to the bathroom and changing clothes. Sometimes I need help. These are things I've done myself for decades. Now, having to rely on others, it's not easy. Some days, I just want to sit quietly, but the TV in the next room is blaring. Some days, I want to take a shower, but I have to wait my turn. Some days, the food doesn't suit my taste, but there's nothing else. He sighed and said, I'm lucky my roommate is kind and neat, but not everyone is that lucky. Some share a room with someone who yells all night. Some live with people who aren't clean or have memory problems. And over time, you start to feel like just a name on a list, someone being cared for, but no longer someone who gets to choose how they live. I didn't know what to say. He looked at me and concluded, if you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. But ask yourself, are you ready to give up your privacy and the most minor familiar things you once took for granted? Because once they're gone, they're not easy to get back. And most of the time, you won't get them back at all. If you're still watching this video, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts or your experience or that of a loved one with nursing homes. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next honest stories and meaningful lessons. Your support is the motivation that keeps us creating thoughtful content for the senior community. Now, let's continue with the final two stories. Story number 9, Someone by My Side. When I no longer remember who I am, I met Mrs. Evelyn in the small library of the nursing home. She was slowly flipping through the pages of an old book, her eyes lingering on each line. When I sat down across from her, she looked up, nodded, and gently said, I don't read as quickly as I used to. Sometimes I forget what I just read on the previous page. I asked how long she'd been here. She told me, about 8 months. Before that, I lived with my daughter. One day, I took the dog out for a walk, just like always. But when I reached the corner, I suddenly couldn't recognize the way back. I stood there for nearly half an hour. Everything looked familiar, but I didn't know whether to turn left or right. A neighbor saw her struggling and walked her home. That day, her daughter cried. Not because something terrible had already happened, but because the whole family realized that something terrible could happen at any moment, and next time, no one might be nearby to help. I argued back then, she said. I told them I was fine, just a little forgetful. But then, I started forgetting the pots on the stove. I called my grandchild by the wrong name. One morning, I woke up at 3 a.m., got dressed, thinking it was daytime, and I was heading out. I asked, how do you feel now that you're here? She nodded, paused for a moment, then answered, at first, I thought I'd be very sad, but it turns out, I felt relieved. Here, I don't have to hide my forgetfulness. There's always someone checking if I've eaten, if I've gone to bed on time. If I forget what day it is, someone reminds me. They notice if I've been gone too long. And if I make a mistake, no one gets frustrated. She smiled softly. I know I'm getting weaker. And the greatest comfort is knowing someone knows that and is quietly staying by my side. I sat there in silence with Mrs. Evelyn, thinking about what she had said. I don't remember many things anymore, but I still remember the feeling of being safe when someone is beside me. Bon moi tim kiem. Story number 10. Staying may not be what you want, but leaving is no longer easy. I met Mr. Peter by the porch of the community building. He sat there every morning in the same spot, always with a small notebook in hand. He told me, I'm writing down everything about this place, not to remember, but to understand why I'm still here. Before moving into the nursing home, he lived in the city center, a high-floor apartment with a window overlooking the park. He still went grocery shopping, cooked his own meals, and did small chores around the house. But after his wife passed, he always felt lonely. When his son suggested he try moving here, he thought, just a few months. If it works, I'll stay. If not, I'll go back. But you know, Mr. Peter said, I've been here for 6 months now, and I'm starting to realize that leaving this place isn't as simple as I thought. Because my apartment, it's not the same anymore. My son has slowly rearranged everything to make room for his staff. The other room is now a storage area. Most of my personal belongings have been moved out. When I said I wanted to go back, my son hesitated. Are you sure, Dad? The apartment isn't like it used to be anymore. Do you think you can manage it on your own? When I heard that, my heart sank. I started to wonder, do I really have a place to return to? My health isn't what it used to be either. Here, everything is prepared. I don't need to try too hard. But because of that, I don't move my body like I used to. I used to go to the market myself. Now, just walking a few steps tires me out. Then he told me about the gentleman who shares his room, a man who, just like him, moved in just for a few months. He's now been here nearly 3 years. At first, he said, I'm just resting here for a bit. But now, his legs aren't strong enough to rest anymore. And his house? His children already sold it. I asked, do you want to leave? Mr. Peter looked off into the distance. Of course I do. But now, where would I go? And how would I get there? Where's the strength? Where's the home? Where's the money? We sat in silence for a moment. Then he closed his notebook and said, if anyone is thinking that moving into a nursing home is just a trial, I would tell them to prepare for more than that. Because staying may not be what you want, but leaving will no longer be easy. 10 stories, 10 people, 10 lives, each with their own situation, their own reasons, and a journey entirely their own. Some found themselves receiving better care. Some felt regret for losing their freedom. Some rediscovered laughter with peers. Some felt a deep ache upon realizing they were merely existing, no longer truly living. Some felt peace because their children no longer had to worry. Some felt uneasy, realizing that leaving wouldn't be as easy as they had once thought. And one thing is very clear. In a nursing home, whether it's good or not, isn't determined by whether the place is modern or modest. It's not about how many activities are offered. It's not about the soft beds, tasty meals, or attentive staff. It's about your personality, needs, lifestyle, and view on life, whether you are genuinely compatible with that place or not. There is no one-size-fits-all formula. What matters most is not whether you should or shouldn't move into a nursing home, but this: if you choose to, do your homework. Have honest conversations with your children. Ask enough, see enough, and think deeply before deciding. Don't rush. And don't assume it will be good for you just because someone else said, it's great here. Because you are the one who will live there every single day, no one else. And once you've made your choice, take responsibility for it. Welcome the good, and also welcome the not so good, with peace in your heart. Because in the end, at this age, more than a delicious meal, more than nice clothes, more than luxurious vacations, peace is what matters most. So remember, a nursing home is not the answer. It's a choice. How about you? Have you ever thought about living in a nursing home? Are you living in one now? Have you visited a loved one there? Or are you considering this option for your parents? Please leave a comment below to share your story, your experience, or your thoughts. We read every response, and your share might help someone else make a better decision for themselves. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss upcoming videos about health, life, and the things that truly touch the hearts of older adults. Your support motivates us to continue creating meaningful, honest, and high-quality content for the community. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. See you again in our next video.